You know that exhausted, foggy feeling you drag through the afternoon and blame on too much screen time or not enough coffee? What if I told you that some of those energy drains are not physical at all, but recorded, explained, and named in documented mediumship readings dating back a century? In files held by the Association for Research and Enlightenment, there are thousands of sessions that address how mental energy leaks, and in readings such as 281-1 and 5621-5, you will find explicit explanations linking sleep states, intrusive thought forms, and unguarded psychic openings to measurable loss of vitality. In the next few minutes, you will learn 3 precise ways your soul is losing power while you live, what the records call the roots of leakage, and simple steps you can test tonight to stop the drain and restore clarity. Have you ever woken depleted after a night of restless dreams and wondered if something else had been in the room with you? That question sits at the heart of every case we will present. A warehouse manager named Carlos woke with his hands numb and a ledger of business plans vanished from his head. A nurse named Maria found a recipe for a soothing poultice in a dream that later eased her sister Evelyn's fever. And a retired teacher, Michael, reported a voice handing him an instruction so specific it altered the course of a community project. These are not anecdotes pulled from hearsay. They are recorded in numbered readings, dated transcripts, and stenographer notes that form an archive linking dream events to waking consequences. I will cite those readings as we go, translate their symbolic language into usable practices, and explain why Edgar Cayce's work and similar documented sessions still matter when you feel chronically drained. Before the cases, a brief context. In the early 1900s, Cayce and his circle developed a method of trance reading where an individual entered a deep meditative trance and a message was transcribed by an attendant. Those sessions were cataloged, often with a reading number, a date, and sometimes medical notes from attending physicians like Dr. Harper. The steno notes, dusty paper, and carbon copies you see in archives are not folklore. They were intended as records, and scholars and clergy alike have examined patterns within them. One common thread is that energy leaks show a pattern. The soul or consciousness travels in sleep, sometimes connected by a silver cord to the body, sometimes untethered, and encounters currents, entities, and unresolved ties that siphon life force. That description is present in reading 281-1, where the transcriber notes a soft voice advising protective visualization, and in reading 3978-2, where the subject returns exhausted after an unplanned encounter in what the text calls a borderland. The main revelation is simple and unsettling. Your mind is porous in certain states, especially when fatigue, open grief, or unintentional invitation weakens the boundary between waking thought and subtle influence. Now we move to 3 dimensions, where the leakage happens, and to real cases that illustrate each route. Dimension 1 is the borderland between the living and the recently departed, where communications can be nourishing or draining. In a documented case from 1939, a mother named Anna described nightly contact with her brother Thomas, who had died the year before. The transcript records her voice trembling and the stenographer Margaret's pen scratching. In the scene, we hear Anna speak. "He comes and wants me to follow him." The guide replies, "You are safe if you hold light." Anna asks, "How do I hold light?" The guide answers, "By naming it, by feeling it in the chest." Anna says, "I feel cold when he touches my shoulder." The guide reassures, "Breathe warmth into the place." Those exchanges are direct in the reading, and they reflect a pattern. Unsanctioned attachments drain attention and generate the sensation of cold, weight, and mental fog. Sensory detail matters. Anna reports a metallic tang on her tongue, the smell of damp earth, the hollow echo of distant voices, and the pressure like a heavy wool blanket across her collarbones. Neighbors like Lena and the testimonial nurse Maria were later interviewed. Lena said she heard whispering outside Anna's window, and Maria brought tea for comfort. The practical takeaway from this first dimension is to name and secure the threshold before sleep, to request a friendly guide by name, and to visualize a cord of silver as a tether. Practice. Lie down, breathe into your chest, name your guide aloud, and imagine a circle of white light closing around you.
In recordings such as reading 254-3, the trance subject was explicitly told to call for the white light and to affirm a protective phrase before sleep. Dimension 2 leads into the Akashic field, or the records, where deep informational exchanges occur and where, if you lack preparation, you can return with fragments that feel like unresolved obligations. Consider the case of Samuel, a software engineer who, after an incubation ritual, entered a lucid state and saw pages of a book. He woke with a list of plant names, a smell of lemon oil in his nose, and dirt under his fingernails despite having slept in an air-conditioned apartment. Dialogue from his report reads, "Who is the librarian?" he asks in the dream. A voice explains, "You requested knowledge." He replies, "Will it help my wife?" The voice says, "Only if you transmute it into kindness." He wakes, calls his sister Maria, and together they test a poultice. Sensory notes from the case are vivid: the rustle of vellum, the cool damp stone of aisles, the metallic clink of a key, the taste of watery tea. The Akashic access can be curative when guided, as in Samuel's case, where a specific herbal mixture eased his wife's chronic rash. But unchecked, these visits can overload the psyche with images and tasks that feel like obligations, producing a slow bleed of energy as you attempt to integrate.
Material not meant for you alone. The instruction in the readings is to ask permission, to anchor with breath, and to leave a bookmark before returning. Dimension 3 exposes the creative consciousness and prophetic insight that sometimes arrives as an impulsive plan or premonition that insists on immediate action. Michael, the retired teacher, is an example. He described a night where architectural lines lay across his vision, a hum like a distant choir in his ears, and the scent of cedar. In the transcript, he says aloud, "This is a plan for the square." A quiet voice answers, "Begin with 1 stone." He asks, "Will the town agree?" The voice answers, "Start small, gather names." Michael woke, met with city planner Dr. Harper, and after conversations with neighbors Carlos and Evelyn, they planted a bench that led to a civic revitalization project. The creative downloads can energize, but they can also sap you if you become a magnet for other people's urgencies. The readings warn that unasked for prophetic content often carries the emotional residue of others. Sensory markers in this third dimension include bright white light at the edge of vision, a ringing high in the head, the metallic taste of adrenaline, and the warmth of an inner smile. After these case studies, a simple community invitation. Pause now and think of the last dream that left you hollow. If that memory surfaced, write in the comments starting with the word "soñé" and share 1 line about how you felt on waking. If you've used any technique to remember or steer dreams, write "tenté" and the name of the practice. Your input becomes part of a living archive we can analyze and helps others recognize shared patterns. Returning to practice, Edgar Cayce-style recommendations focus on 3 steps to prevent leaks. First, purification of intent. Before sleep, state a clear intention that you only receive what serves highest good and name your guide or guardian angel. Second, the incubation method. Lie down, breathe slowly for 10 minutes, visualize a silver cord connecting you to your body, and speak a short phrase like, "I ask for clear and protected guidance." Third, journal immediately upon waking, recording sensory details, smell, texture, tone, and any names or instructions. These steps are practical, and they are echoed across readings, including 281-1 and 5621-5, which advise naming and immediate recording to prevent the confusion of integration. But the records offer cautions as well. One documented risk involved a man named Joseph who, after repeated unprotected excursions, reported a persistent shadow that followed his waking thoughts and left him depressed. In the transcript, the attending stenographer notes his speech slowed, his appetite diminished, and he described a persistent chill. That case underlines the need for protection protocols. A simple technique taught in the readings is the white light sweep. Stand in your room, feel the soles of your feet, and imagine a soft white light breathing in through the crown and settling into the belly. I ask that only loving, helpful presences come near me tonight.
If you sense agitation, call your guides by name and ground with water. For physical health connections, there are documented instances where dream-led cures intersected with clinical care. A case recorded with a physician named Dr. Ellis involved a child given a dream-inspired herbal compress that, used alongside medical treatment, reduced inflammation recorded in clinical notes. Sensory details from that bedside scene include the smell of menthol, the scrape of cotton, the metallic clink of a medicine tray, and the steady beep of a monitor. Those cases do not replace medical advice, but they show how spiritual insight and care can coincide with measurable outcomes. On the topic of karma and past lives, the files include readings suggesting that some energy drains are residual contracts from earlier incarnations. A woman named Rosa remembered a river crossing and a small bronze coin in her palm. After a guided regression, she forgave a remembered betrayal and reported less chronic anxiety. The reading that followed advised daily forgiveness practice and a short meditation to release tied expectations. In closing, the evidence in these files and the testimonies of people like Michael, Anna, Samuel, Carlos, Maria, Lena, Evelyn, and Dr. Harper point to a practical truth. Your exhaustion may be partly a spiritual hygiene issue. Tonight, try the 3-step routine: intention, incubation, journaling, and add the white light sweep for protection. If you feel stuck, begin with just 2 minutes of breath and a single phrase aloud. Share one sentence about your most draining dream in the comments, starting with "Soñé." And if this investigation matters to you, subscribe for more documented cases, step-by-step practices, and primary source readings I will cite in future episodes. Remember this final line as you put the lights out. Your dreams are not just private movies, they are postal routes for the soul. Senders and receivers move along them every night, so send and receive wisely.